The views and opinions throughout KAZI's broadcast day are not necessarily the views or opinions of KAZI's board, staff, underwriters, or volunteers.
Welcome to ZUMBI, a monthly conversation with artists, activists, and scholars whose work is influenced by the richness of Black life in Austin and around the world. Your host is writer and community curator Stephanie L. Lane.
Support for KAZI is provided by...
All right. Good morning, KAZI listeners. Again, this is ZUMBI, named after Afro-Brazilian freedom fighter Zumbi dos Palmares. And as always, I'm your host, Stephanie Lane. And as always, hopefully he'll be able to say something. Making it happen is engineer for the show and producer extraordinaire, Mr. DJ Slice.
Hey, what's going on?
Yay, there you are. All right. So today, I'm really excited because we are continuing our spotlight of the Institute of Urban Policy Research and Analysis at the University of Texas at Austin, which is part of Black Studies. And so we have the whole staff with us. So we have a lot to talk about. So we'll get right into it. All right. So we had our first guest, one of our guests on the show in, August now, to talk a little bit about the Institute and some of the things that they were working on. But since then, there's a whole bunch more to announce. And so I will introduce her and let her introduce the staff. So Dr. Danielle Wright is the Associate Director of iupra, again, which is the Institute for Urban Policy Research and Analysis at UT Austin, and Assistant Professor of Practice in Policy in the College of Education. So, hey, welcome back.
Hey, hi, Stephanie. Can I just make sure you can hear me? I see our team is with us. Thanks for having us on the show. Definitely wanted to say thank you and hello to all the listeners. This time it's not just me. We're bringing a good portion of our team today. So I just wanted to go ahead and introduce and let you know who's in the room. Mr. Ricardo Lowe is our research associate, and he handles all of our quant, our numbers, our research data background. He'll bring that in for us. Hey, Ricky.
Hello, how are you guys doing today?
Right.
And then we also have Miss Annika Olson with us, and Annika handles all of our policy research. She's the Assistant Director of Policy Research for the Institute.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Stephanie, for having us.
Oh, you are most welcome.
And then we'll be joined by, shortly, I hope, Dr. Tracie Lowe is our Assistant Director of Assessment, and she does a lot of work with the community, and anything that has to do with strategy, she'll assist me with. Oh, there she is. Hi, Dr. Lowe. Welcome to the show. All right. So that's our team for now, Stephanie.
All right. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about some of the work you all are doing. I know one of the first things is this Opportunity Forum on Policing and the Black Community, Transformative Justice. Will you share that with us?
Yeah, we just recently did that. We had an amazing panel of experts, both in the community, representing the APD, Austin Police Department. We had some who were doing social justice, criminal justice, and Ricky and Dr. Gordon Abner actually served as the moderator for the event. And it was, I think, really impactful. And I'll let Ricky kind of jump in a little bit on this, but it really was necessary given all of the things that we know are happening around Black folks and the way we're experiencing a racialized experience around criminal justice. And so, Ricky, I don't know if you want to kind of jump in and talk a little bit about not only the Opportunity Forum, but maybe some work around transformative or racial justice.
Yeah, so I mean, for the most part, we know what's been going on in Black communities for so long when it comes to policing in our community. Just this year alone, though, we've seen that been exposed on a broader level. So now all of a sudden everybody is focused on it, or, at least we think they're really focused on it. And so we wanted to bring an opportunity to get people who work within the field and have a great understanding of how this has affected our communities and come together and have a conversation about it. And so we talked a lot about abolition, which is something that you're hearing a lot in the news, and a lot of scholars have been talking about it. Ruth Wilson Gilmore, Angela Davis, they've been speaking about abolition for a long time, and when we're talking about policing, we're also talking about the greater problem of mass incarceration in prisons as well. Right. And so we talked about that. We talked about what it looks like maybe to defund, or whether that is something that is feasible. Talked a little bit about transformative justice and different ways to hold policing accountable, more transparency. It was just a great conversation to have. And it's something that, in light of Breonna Taylor's death and George Floyd's death and the many more that we've seen, we just wanted to make sure that we came together and had a conversation about this, and then not just have a conversation, but work on ways that we can make this into action,
Right. Absolutely. That's the thing that's really one of the things I think is so important about the work that you all do, because, the research and the policy kind of is informing, a lot of what's happening, but obviously this engagement with the community and what's happening is doing the same thing. So I'm really interested in kind of how you all find that balance. And I mean, you mentioned in these events, it really kind of helps fuel the work that you're doing, right? The continued.
Yeah, I mean, look, so, a big part of what we do is we want to make sure, and I don't want to hog up the mic, so I'm stopping in a minute, but a big thing that we do is we do a lot of policy work, and we try to get our work in front of the eyes of people who make decisions, but we also want to make sure that we include community voices in there, right? And so we do a lot of work with the community. Right. Dr. Tracie Lowe does a lot of work with the community, Annika as well, Dr. Wright. We just try to make sure that those voices are included in the work that we do, so that we have some type of participatory action approach to these policy solutions that we do derive.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So, the challenge for me is I could deep dive into all of these. So I'm going to keep going. Dr. Wright, I'll let you lead us on to some of the other things you all are working on.
Yeah, so we've got quite a few, policy briefs, but I really want to bring attention to the community classroom that we're getting ready to put forth this month. We're October 1st already, so next week, starting Thursday. Our team is really excited about it. I'm going to let Dr. Lowe speak a little bit on that, but the team really is excited. And what I love is just, especially in conversation with you, Stephanie, I'm Tracie. It seems like we're filling the class and then some. So looking forward to that. But yeah, Tracie, if you want to share with the audience what's going on with our classroom.
Yeah, so the community course will start on Thursday, October 8th. It is full, but we're hoping that maybe in the future there'll be an opportunity to have a similar one. But we're really, with this class, we're really looking to co-labor with the community and figuring out ways that we can serve the community, but also kind of, I would say, elevate their voices, amplify their voices in terms of getting change that can happen in the community. And the way we're doing this is to look at the legislative process, because policy is often where change happens. And so helping people to understand what that process looks like, because, even me, I have to do some research sometimes to understand what's going on this legislative season, and making things transparent and plain. So I think transparency and making processes plain that people can often muddle up, making sure that community members understand what that looks like, and then also understanding how to communicate and articulate what the needs are of communities in ways that legislators can, kind of in their lingo, in ways that they can comprehend. And one of those ways is policy briefs. So we will take this 4 weeks and use that to approach how to create policy briefs and what policy briefs look like, and how you can actually affect legislation with policy briefs. What are ways to communicate special challenges that are happening, and to pinpoint the statistics and the disparities and all the things that are happening in the community in ways that people can understand, and that you can take and solidify and give these documents or these tools out to people. So this course, we're hoping that people will be able to learn a lot. We want to learn a lot from community, and we also want to understand what's happening in the Austin area, because again, we know we live here, but there are always blind spots. So we just want to make sure that the process is reciprocal, and we're just hoping to, again, and have fun and engage with the people in the community. And we're excited that they want to take part of this process and honored that they want to do it with us.
Yeah, and the community is excited. So every day I'm getting like more emails like, are you sure I can't slip in there? So yes, we will hopefully figure out how to do this again. And I do think it's really important that this idea of keeping it small, so that, like you said, you all are trying to kind of figure this out, learn from the community, and make sure that you can provide as much information and resources, and really a conversation around this. And so that is really exciting. We are also pivoting, right, in this virtual world, because the way that this has been set up in the past, obviously this was a kind of a physical thing. We'll into the community and have these conversations. We may have, it would have been longer at some point. We'd had some good snacks, all those things. But really grateful to iupra for, being so amenable and flexible and trying to figure out what does this look like virtually. And, also acknowledging that, there are some barriers to this for some folks. So, using this as an example to see how we can engage with people, in other ways moving forward. So one of the things that I'd love for you all to share is, because I know you're all part of this course. So kind of how are you breaking out, or kind of who's taking what parts of the course?
Well, I'll just start in terms of the framework, all four of us are teaching courses, and I think we'll just be alternating on different weeks to present different topics. Okay. And so that's really intentional, because everyone on the team has amazing experience with engaging with folks, and we just want to make sure that there's not just one person just, teaching the whole class, because what's the fun in that? So just the diversity of experiences and the diversity of talent on the team. Annika and Ricky will be leading kind of the first part of helping people understand how to develop policy briefs. Dr. Wright and I will be approaching just what the legislative process looks like and what critical policy and critical perspectives look like. And then we'll all be helping them to kind of work on and develop their own policy briefs and what that process looks like when we have breakout sessions. Because again, that's why it's not that we don't love you, but we're trying to keep the group small so that we can have those breakout sessions that happen in the latter part of the class, and that we can all kind of hop in and just be able to have those discussions with people and be able to understand more so what the challenges are, what we don't understand, how we can communicate things better to them. So this is, again, we love you all, but we just want to keep it small and intimate in order to be able to have those interactions so people can get the most out of it. So that's the way it's set up right now, in terms of just making sure that everyone can interact at the highest capacity.
Okay, wonderful. And one of the beauties is that the folks that are signed up for this course are, coming from these really different places. There's, people that are in education. There are community folks who are just like, I see these issues in my community around education. I'm going to do something about it. There's undergraduates. So it's really exciting to see a diverse group, which I think will also be really helpful, right, to you all in kind of imagining, next steps around this. So I am being told, I hear you, DJ Slides. We need to take a break, and we will be right back.
Support for KAZI is provided by Shepherd's Carpet Cleaning.
Shepherd's Carpet Cleaning cleans residential and commercial carpets. They inspect your carpet to determine your needs and will move furniture and return it after they clean. They also clean tile and grout, upholstery, and dryer vents. Shepherd's is fully insured and bonded, and they use biodegradable carpet cleaning products. For more information, 512-317-4846 or shepherdscarpetcare.com.
Support for KAZI is provided by the City of Austin Cultural Arts Division.
The City of Austin Cultural Arts Division, including art in public places, cultural funding, and the African American Cultural Heritage Facility, whose cultural art programs provide leadership for the economic development of the Austin's creative economy. Learn more at austincreate.gov.
During COVID-19, it's important to manage your chronic disease. Older adults and people who have chronic conditions such as type 2 diabetes, a heart condition, or obesity are at higher risk of severe illness from COVID-19. You can manage your chronic disease by eating healthy, staying active, quitting tobacco use, and continuing your treatment plan developed by your healthcare provider. Learn more about making healthier choices every day at healthyplaceshealthypeople.org. Brought to you by Austin Public Health.
Hey, what's shaking, y'all? This is Noel Gordine. I want you to check out Ingrid After Dark every Friday morning, midnight to 5 a.m. on KAZI 88.7 and on the web at kazifm.org.
We are the voice and soul of Austin. 88.7 FM.
All right. We are back with our guest from the Institute of Urban Policy Research and Analysis. And before the break, we were talking about a wonderful course that is being taught as part of our community classroom with the Center for Community Engagement and the Institute with IUPRA. So we can get back to that. We were talking about just kind of some of the pieces to the course and shared a little bit about a lot of the folks that registered, and what else should we share about that?
Well, the one thing I really want to say, and especially for our listeners out there, is that what's really incredible about this is that this is a chance. Often, Stephanie, we talked about this the last episode, where the history between UT and the Black population has been, tense, to say the least. And so folks wanting to learn about the policy process in a way that's comfortable, that's centered on Black perspectives, or at least the participant perspectives, that's really important. And because I teach policy in the College of Education, it's a formal setting. And what I love about the way this course has been designed is that it bridges both. You're going to have exposure to the way we do things at UT, but it's also going to have a feel that's really based in the perspective of the participants, and really getting to beyond some of those things. Sometimes, especially my students will come in, and these are graduate students, without a real clear understanding of what policy actually is, right? They do the same thing when it comes to data. Ricky and all of us will sit down and explain in the simplest form, data is really about information sharing. So, I think that's one of the things that really works with the community, but it also helps us because a lot of our responses are to emergent needs. Mm-hmm. So even though we do work in thematic areas, we always want to see, have an ear to the ground and make sure that the policy work, the voice of policy, and this is where we talk about critical policy analysis, right? So it's not just policy for policy's sake, but for impact, right, and opportunity and what that looks like. So, and then, the fact that we're doing a lot of work with DDCE and in this lane is just another extension of what our mission and our motto is really all about.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So is that a good segue into some of the other? All right. See how well we work together.
Yeah, we vibe well. I mean, I'm excited, and I know the team this is kind of like, we knew it was coming. We're not sure, but even this front porch conversation that you're developing with us, and I don't know if you want us to speak a little bit about. We don't know the full, theme, but community members listen out for that opportunity, especially around voting and what we hear. Stephanie, I read a brief article today where Texas was called a suppression state. And I thought, a voter suppression state. And I thought, that term may be familiar for other folks, but that's not a prize that I want to win, as a state. And so where that comes from, the history with really communities of color in general. But this is one area I know that we at IUPRA are really taking a look at. It's work with the voter. I think Annika, Ricky, Tracie just did a brief on the census and why it's important. So really, how do we engage our audience with the policy and political process, for that matter?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the front porch gathering that we are doing, and we mean Center for Community Engagement in partnership with IUPRA, is really that. It's looking at civic engagement, right? And thinking about, the role that this has played in historically marginalized communities, and really how to kind of look at the lessons that we've learned from this engagement. Like, some of the barriers, like you talked about with suppression, how, these different communities, for example, with the complete count census, communities, for each of the different areas, like there's different and unique things, right, that they're having to address in their communities. There's issues around language barriers and different things. So an opportunity for the community to come together and have these conversations and talk and share what their experiences are, right? And then thinking about this idea of momentum. How do we keep this going, through this election, this census count, and ongoing? And so we've always found that, our job is to listen to the community and provide as many resources as we can and support and amplify what they're doing. And so, just like what you all have mentioned, I think this is a perfect opportunity to kind of connect the work of IUPRA and the work that we're doing with the center and really create an environment for really fruitful dialogue. So yes, we're excited. This is happening on Tuesday, October 20th at 7 p.m. We'll have longtime community organizers kind of doing they'll tell their stories. We'll have, again, IUPRA kind of speaking about some of the work that they do and this connection to policy. And after that, we will also have more talk about like some of the barriers, suppression, and other things. And then the big part of this is just breaking into groups and having conversations around, with these guided questions. So hopefully this will be for you all also something that is kind of inform the work and policy that you're doing. So, so I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to kind of share about that piece.
Just that we're, really looking forward to it. And I think a lot of it, and we've talked about this since the group we're formulating, how that's going to go, but that we're really listening to hear what the themes are. Because I know, what we're hearing now, and I know Annika, Vicky, Tracie can probably attest to this, that folks are to a point where they feel like we've met, we're always in these meetings, but what is going to come out of it? And I think that's the strength of IUPRA, right? What kind of policy work? And then also, we're suddenly on the radar of more legislators. We obviously do work with the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, but we have other legislators, not Black, who are really interested, especially because of the social ills that Black folk have long been knowing this has been happening, but now we've got a spotlight. And so we at IUPRA keep this in mind. What are we going to do with the spotlight so that it's not just a time that passes by? What kind of actions we support?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you know what? We actually have a little time. So if, please, if there's other things you want to share, but also this could be an opportunity for folks to share just kind of a little bit about, what brought them into this work, if that, seems to work for everybody. I would love to have our listeners have opportunity to know the folks behind IUPRA. Anybody want to do a quick share out?
I was going
Tell us about you in 2 minutes. No.
I'll let, well, Annika, do you want to say something? As I know that you've been on. You go ahead and say something.
Sure. Yeah, I came to Austin from DC and had a background in policy and psychology, but I learned about IUPRA and I didn't know much about it to start. But I knew kind of tangentially Dr. King Davis, who started the Institute, and was really propelled by the mission and all the work being done, and really kind of the interdisciplinary focus and that really outward-facing community work that was being done. So I love the work of the Institute, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. I think we are, Dr. Wright always says we're a small but nimble team, and we do a ton of good work together and really kind of help to amplify those community voices. So it's great to be a part of that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
For me, I'm from, I was raised most of my life in San Antonio, and I tried to do as much as I can with the community. And upon coming to Austin and being gifted the opportunity to work with IUPRA, I just wanted to make sure that we had some type of relationship with the Black community here. And that's not to say that our relationship with the Black community here is the best, because as Dr. Wright said earlier, there's a history of a frayed relationship between institutions within the city and that community. And so that's something that we will always be working towards. I know there's people on the call who might say, I haven't seen them. You know what I mean? We coming. Like, we really want to be there. We really want to be in these spaces to have these conversations with y'all, but not just have the conversations, but to put action into play. And we're really serious about that. And so that's what brought me into it. And I think that's also what brought most of us into this work as well.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just say, coming from a higher ed background and just understanding the dynamics of what happens with Black students in higher education, I'm very practical. And so this was an opportunity for me to be able to understand that policy and legislative side and how policies and legislation could impact Black students in education. And it ended up being that I just learned so much more about how it's impacting the Black community in general. So my calling was I wanted to be able to take a practical and actionable step in order to help communities and people that identify or with similar identities to me.
All right. And Dr. Wright, I know you've been on this show before, but I know new listeners would love to just hear a quick bit about you.
Yeah, real quickly, my work is informed by where I'm from, New York, critical policy theory, all those things really about centering the voices of people. And it's not just Black people, but in this case, that's really important, and always interested in areas of how identity and experience interlap to create, one's living experience, right? One's social experience. So a lot of my work comes from that. Been at NYU and then back to UT. It's full circle. And what I'd like to say, though, to the audience is, first of all, I want to let you know this team is sincere, very sharp. And if you can hear them, it's a fun group to work with. And I think that's why we do so much that people are attracted to. But I also would love to get it, just kind of shout out to, if you want to connect with IUPRA further, let me leave you with a couple of things. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, so definitely hit us up through social media that way. We have a direct phone number for, like my mom and them's generation that want to dial in, 512-471-3645. And then you can find us on the internet. We've got our web presence. It's iupra-UT. You can put that in Google. Eventually, there'll have be a .org connected to it. So we'd love to hear from you and just engage you as we move forward.
Wonderful. And again, thank you all so much for being on this show. It's been really a wonderful experience for me to work with you all and to continue to work with you. And yes, so all good things.
And all right. Just one more plug for our podcast, Black Lives Texas. So please go and listen. We're trying to get that out. So it's hosted by Tracie and Ricky, and they've done a fabulous job.
It's Black Lives Texas.
Black Lives Texas.
And they can find that through like the website. And
our website, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
perfect.
Annika. That's it. We got to get you on the podcast.
Yes. I'm ready. All right. Well, again, my guests have been the Institute of Urban Policy Research and Analysis staff, and I am Stephanie Lang. Be gentle with yourselves, y'all. Until next time.
You've been listening to ZUMBI with host Stephanie L. Lang on KAZI 88.7, The Voice of Austin. ZUMBI is brought to you with support from the John L. Warfield Center for African and African American Studies and the Center for Community Engagement, two vibrant cultural institutions at the University of Texas at Austin. The views and opinions expressed on ZUMBI may not reflect those of KAZI or the University of Texas at Austin.